They say bad things come in threes. Well, I just got the brakes done on my car over there, and then it broke on me, and then I dropped my phone, and I'm surprised I'm able to make this video here. So, I'm gonna have to get a new phone. Hopefully that's the end of my string of bad luck, but we'll see. Hey guys, it's Tape the Grape, and I don't know what I'm gonna title this video, but I'm sure you can get a pretty good idea of what happened just from the title. So anyway, I was driving this to work 2 days ago, the day right after I got the brakes done. I made a video on that, my latest video. Sure enough, driving it to work, the belt was squeaking since I got it back from the brake shop. Not suggesting they're the ones who caused the squeaking of the belt, but it wasn't squeaking nearly as bad before I got it, or before I sent it to them. But anyway, regardless, it's a multi-belt system, one of the serpentine belts here. Hopefully you can see this. Let me see. That one right there runs, it's from the crank, or the engine. There's the water pump down there, and then the alternator. Well, I first noticed the squeaking stopped right as I was crossing a bridge, Bauer Parkway Bridge. But anyway, then I noticed, and then I looked at my voltage gauge, and it was going down. I was like, oh crap, the alternator belt just snapped. Didn't think much of it. Wasn't smart enough to know that it also ran the water pump. So about a minute and a half later, I notice, and I look at the temperature gauge, because it's an old car, it doesn't have a dinging, it doesn't ding at you when the temperature's way overheated. And the temperature gauge was way up into the H, and in the red. So I was like, oh crap. So I, as quickly as I possibly could at a stoplight, I shut it off, called my buddy, told him, or asked him what to do. He says, make sure you park it, let it cool down real quick. So when the light turned green, I started it back up real quick, and then I was instantly able to go straight and then right into a parking lot, and that's where I parked it and shut it off. So it wasn't overheated for more than maybe 2 minutes. Now, these Chrysler 2.2s and 2.5s of this vintage, from what I understand, I'm not an expert on them, of course, but because the block's iron and the head's aluminum, well, that's the valve cover, block's iron, the head's aluminum, when they overheat, of course, two different metals expand differently, and they can cause head gasket issues. And I was like, oh man, I really hope that isn't what affected mine. So I had to park it, and there's a clip now I'll show you. So the Aries just left me stranded, sadly. The damn alternator / water pump belt snapped, and I noticed the temperature gauge went skyrocketed because it runs the water pump. Hopefully I didn't damage the head gasket. That sucks. So I gotta walk the rest of the way to work. Dang it, I just can't get a break. So yeah, I walked the rest of the way to work, and my buddy was picked me up after work, took me to the auto parts store, got a new belt to put on there. Well, he helped me put it on. Well, he did it for me, thank you again. But anyway, we started it up, and we tested for signs of a blown head gasket. When we first started it up, there was a big old cloud of white smoke out of there. But that was the only time that the white smoke was in there. And then we checked in this reservoir for bubbles as it was running. Sure enough, there was bubbles. So, unfortunately for me, it has a blown head gasket. But no fear, because in the springtime, me and my buddy are going to attempt, well, not attempt, we are, unless something crazy happens to where we can't, but we're determined, because he's worked on literally hundreds of these old K cars in the time, back in like the early 2000s and 2010s and whatnot. Probably even before then, before I was born. But yeah, he would buy these dirt cheap because no one wanted to put the time and effort into fixing them, and then sell them for profit. It's a pretty good gig, that's for sure. But of course, these cars are hard to come by anymore. That's why he cherishes the ones he does find, and he puts them back on the road, and that's the whole story on why I got this one. But anyway, so some of you are probably wondering, does it have milky oil? Thankfully it doesn't, as you can probably see. That'd be the actual death of the engine if if I, had oil, or not the death of the engine. It would be worse for it if it had coolant in the engine, in the oil, I should say. Let me try and put that back in there. That's good. And as far as we could tell, there's no oil in the coolant also, which is also good. As you can see, there's some of that calcium buildup or whatever from probably faucet water, who knows. Whatever they put in the water these days. Faucet water, I should say. But anyway, so I'm going to start it up and show you that it runs still pretty good. Alright, let's start it up. As you can see, it's running pretty dang smooth for a blown head gasket. So I can't remember if in the previous clip I already mentioned, but we've determined that it's very early stages of a blown head gasket. In which case, we don't want it to get any worse. So that's why it is parked here. I was going to park this for the winter anyway, since it's rust-free, and salt will kill this in 2 years flat if I drove it on the salt. It's a little earlier than I wanted to park it, but I mean, it is what it is. But if I didn't already mention, in the spring, we're going to be tackling the head gasket job. It will live again, just fine. And we'll be putting an upgraded head gasket on it. I keep pointing at the valve cover gasket just because that's on the valve cover, just because that's on the top. But obviously the head's down, head and iron. I'm sorry, the head and block surface is somewhere down there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to be taking all that off. He knows these cars in and out. So I've got a knowledgeable person to be showing me the way on how to do that. But yeah, he said if it was a really bad blown head gasket, it wouldn't be running that good. And let's check for bubbles. Maybe we can see some bubbles. Hang on. It'll take a second. It'll be in the center bottom of the phone screen. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe it's too dark to see. It is what it is, but we did see bubbles in there, so obviously some compression, or some gases from the compression area. You know what I'm talking about. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's making its way through the radiator, unfortunately. But, nevertheless, it runs good. And as long as it doesn't get any worse, it should be good in the spring. Let's shut it off now, though. But I drove it home after we put the belt on just fine. It didn't overheat or anything. And then the day after, which would have been yesterday, the day after the belt snapped and we confirmed it had a head gasket, I still drove it to work only for the purposes of, because that same buddy I mentioned, sorry if my voice is very loud, it was close to the phone, wanted me to stop by before work just to confirm it again and check some other things. Sure enough, again, we confirmed head gasket blown. But then I drove it to the bank because it was on the way home, and then the rest of the way home did just fine. But again, better to be safe than sorry by parking it now. I still got to winterize it before winter and unhook the battery and fuel additive, like I said, winterize it and stuff. But anyway, for now. But anyway, let me know what you think. Sad that it happened, but it isn't the end of it. That's for sure. Just the end of it for the rest of the year. But anyway, funny little thing is he mentioned how one of the, maybe not the only flaw, but one of the main flaws on these is because it has an aluminum head and an iron block. When it overheats, the metals are different. They expand differently. I said, well, why did no one ever create a iron head for it? And he says, well, then they'd be damn near bulletproof. Unkillable, even. But anyway, apart from, the timing belt that you have to replace on them, which he replaced that already, thankfully. But, yeah, those are normal things you got to get replaced anyway. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Sad, but it's not the end. Don't worry. I ain't giving up on this thing at all.